So, hey Sakshi, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when someone says shopping?
I'll say artist.
Artist. Is it really? Why so?
Because I believe that shopping is not about spending money and buying goods or services. It is an art. So I feel like I am an artist.
Wow, that's a really nice way to put it forward. Indeed, shopping today is an art for tech savvy customers. Value for money is what customers really look forward to these days. And as rightly said by Seth Godin, an American writer and a Stanford alum, people don't just buy goods and services, they buy relations, they buy stories, and they buy the magic. Even Steve Jobs reiterated the same fundamentals for the brand marketing of Apple products. Retail industry today has evolved into experiential retail. Location, marketing, store layout and experience, service and assortment, and bundle selling are always taken care of to give the best store experience to the customers. Good morning, everyone, and greetings to our respected Dr. Monica Khanna ma'am, the director for KJ Somaiya Institute of Management, and our esteemed panelists, Mr. Vikalp Sharma, training head, retail management of Vivo Mobile India Private Limited, Mr. Mayank Jain, national sales operations and retail marketing manager, Titan and Fastrack, Mr. Zafar Iqbal, assistant vice president of Highway Amenities and Developers Private Limited and president of All India Retail Group. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Akash Srivastava, Assistant Vice President of Jubilant Foodworks, Dr. Shakti Chauhan, sir, former Senior Vice President and Country Head of HDFC Bank, and Ms. Soumya Gupta, a distinguished retail news reporter for the Economic Times, will also be the moderator for the event. We are proud to welcome all the panelists today to this very enlightening discussion. We are also delighted to welcome Professor Dr. Isaac Jacobs, sir, Professor and Area Chairperson, Marketing and International Business. Professor Dr. Vandana Khanna ma'am, our Program Coordinator for Doctoral Programs in the Institute. The NRS Chairperson and Program Coordinator for Retail Management Program, Professor Dr. Vilasini Jadhav ma'am, faculties, staff members, and my dear friends. I, Ishan Seth, and Sakshi Kapoor are proud to represent our batch for panel discussion on the day 2 of the National Retail Summit 2021, brought to you by the Container Corporation of India, partnered by Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited and Ultratech Cement. I would like to welcome you all with a concept from the book called Retail is in Detail, written in 1996 by Ronald L. Bond. The book emphasizes on 3 components: employees, customers, and operations. With a laser-focused plan, you create a dream team, but executing it well with customer satisfaction playing a pivotal role, which ultimately gives retrospective insights into business operations, enhancing the ways of service delivery, data-driven decisions based on analysis and research. Our panel discussion today will revolve around the same touch points on our central theme, Retail Rebound, which Sakshi will talk about further.
Thank you, Shan. We have gathered here today to hear from industry professionals about the changing landscape in retail industry. And we'll get the opportunity to learn from their enormous expertise as well as their essential insights into the industry. The NRS theme, Retail Rebound, explains how the rise of e-tail has given a new option for customers to buy products, innovation, and designs of various strategies and ideas that have helped brick and mortar stores sustain the cut through competition. Innovation and technologies like AI, AR, and VR have been a huge catalyst in making brick and mortar store rise back. It will also address the need for physical stores to make their presence felt in online space. With this thought, let me introduce today's panelist and moderator to our audience. Our very first panelist is Mr. Vikalp Sharma, Training Head, Retail Management of Vivo Mobile India Private Limited. Sir has over 16 years of significant and rich experience as a trainer. He is a journeyman who is aiming each day to make a difference in people's life. Prior to joining Vivo India, he has worked with marvelous brands like Canon India Private Limited, LG Electronics, Motorola India Private Limited, etc. We are proud to introduce our second panelist, Mr. Mayank Jain, National Sales Operations and Retail Manager, Titan and Fastrack. Sir has an accomplished retail professional with around 10 years of experience with expertise in retail operations, sales, and business development. He has worked across multiple lifestyle brands like Tanishq, Helios, and Titan Eye Plus. Our third panelist is Mr. Zafar Iqbal, AVP of Highway Amenities Development Private Limited and President of All India Retail Group. Sir has become a phenomenal experience of over 15 years. He is a real estate and retail professional specializing in retail leasing and business development. Our next panelist is Mr. Akash Srivastava, AVP of Jubilant Foodworks, an industrial retail professional with over 12 years of rich experience in strategizing, planning, and driving business opportunities in real estate, expansion rollout, market research franchising, and commercial legal negotiations. And finally, our fifth panelist, Dr. Shakti Chauhan, who is former Senior Vice President and Country Head of HDFC Bank, a real estate and facility management professional with over 25 years of varied experience in managing banking, retail, and telecommunication companies. Over to you, Ishan.
Thank you, Sakshi. We are proud to introduce our moderator, Ms. Soumya Gupta. She is a business and financial journalist in India with 6 years of experience while writing on retail consumer goods, new media, the consumer economy, and sometimes on its intersection with the social inequality. She's an Ivy Leaguer from Dartmouth College in US and has worked for Bloomberg and the Mint. She is currently working as a retail news reporter for the Economic Times. I would like to inform the audience now about the flow of the event. Our moderator will commence the panel discussion with an esteemed panelist, followed by the Q&A session. You can also convey your questions to Sakshi via chat facility, and we will ensure your queries are answered. We request you to raise your hands in case you have a unique query which is still left unanswered. I would like to request our moderator Soumya to take away from here and commence the panel discussion for today. Over to you, Soumya.
Hi, Shan, Sakshi. Thank you so much for leading that in so well. Good morning, everybody. I'm Soumya. I work for Economic Times for ET Prime, and I write in consumer and retail. I'm really excited to start this panel discussion with you all today. I think we have an extremely diverse and competent panel with us, and we're about to have an excellent discussion on where the retail industry is going. A lot of these changes that we're going to be talking about today have been long underway in India's retail and consumer sector for many years now, much before the pandemic started. Some of these changes have been accelerated in the last 18 months, and some of these are going to transform the way that we shop, consume, or look at retail as an experience in this country for many years to come. We have panelists here representing every aspect of retail, from food and beverage businesses to facilities, retail leasing, and consumer durable consumer goods. So our questions are designed to get them talking and cover this as comprehensively as possible. So let's dive in. I'd like to start with Mayank. Mayank, you are part of one of the biggest consumer groups in the country. You're also part of an industry that works on one of the biggest consumer segments, which is consumer durables, accessories. A lot of this was pretty dramatically changed even before the pandemic, the way people shop for wearables, for example, or watches. How much do you think the relevance of a physical store changed for you, particularly in the last 18 months? And where do you see the future of a physical store going from here for you now?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Soumya. I think a very good morning, first of all, to each one of you. So coming to a question, I think when we saw what we saw post-pandemic, one thing was very clear that we need to quickly assess the way forward for the retail, especially. And when I say this, I'm not just talking about Fastrack, the format which I'm working with right now, but I'm talking about all the retail formats which we have at Titan, whether it's Tanishq, World of Titan, Carrot Lane, and many others. And I believe that the best way to construct the future approach is to start questioning the purpose of brick and mortar formats. And that is what we did. So I remember almost 18 months back, I did this massive dipstick when we reached out to more than 2,000 Fastrack consumers, the retail consumers, the consumers who had walked into our stores, purchased our products, and gone back before pandemic. And we reached out to them and we asked them that, what will be the purpose of brick and mortar any longer, if there is any? And that is where our transformation journey began, because we realized that there's still that cohort, that group of customers who's still looking for, say, touch and feel. They're looking for touch and feel. They're looking for human guidance. We have the sales staff at the store, and they are helping the consumers to make a decision on buying a product. And there are a set of customers who don't want any intervention, but there's a large amount of customers who are still looking for human intervention. Instant gratification is something which comes along with retail buying. You get the product instantly. You don't have to wait for 24 hours. And one thing which drastically came in was the experience bit. Because when you go, say, online, which is an internal competition to physical retail, one thing is very, very clear, that it's a very transactional deal. You just get the product, you pay the money, but you don't get experience along with it. And the moment you bring the new age experience into the retail stores, the relevance of physical retail goes up. And that was our biggest realization. And we started our transformation journey. And we realized that, yes, there would be consumers who will be looking for touch and feel, who will be looking for human guidance, and bring in the experience, and the retail is here to stay. Back to you.
That makes a lot of sense, Mayank. As you said, the experience is really what helps. It's a building block of a brand. It's a building block of its retail outreach. And I think another really crucial part of that experience, whether online or offline, is the way that a customer interacts with your feet in the street, so to speak, right? So I'd like to take this to Vikalp, because you have such extensive experience in understanding how to train your feet in the street, your sales team, your customer-facing team, as well as possible. As Mayank said, a lot of this was questioned or repurposed, particularly in the last year and a half. Has that changed the way that you do behavioral training or work on training modules with your team at Vivo?
Thank you, Soumya, for this question, and good morning. So, go back to before I answer the question. We were in the middle of a training program for our new model at that time, and it was a classroom training, offline training going across all cities. So it was 18th of March, and 20th March we came to know that it's complete lockdown. Nothing will happen. Everything will be going to shut down. Now imagine a new product which is about to hit in the market. Training is going on offline for all the sales staff people, and then you have lockdown. We were not prepared for it, and I believe nobody was prepared for such a step that everything will come to a halt. Within a week, we had to retransform ourselves. I would say that we shifted to online trainings. Initially, it was all fun. People liked it that online trainings are coming. They are sitting in one group on Zoom, Umeet, or any other platform what we have. But slowly, after a certain amount of time, there was this fatigue factor coming in. The seriousness was not there. People were not looking at each other. Cameras were off. Internet bandwidth went down drastically. So some of them people were not even joining, and if they joined, not able to say something. So training changed. We had to change, or we had to adapt. I would say adapt is an apt word. We had to adapt with the changing scenarios. It was offline first, then moved to online, and then suddenly we realized that customers' behavior has changed because of one fear factor. Nobody wanted to move out of their house to buy something. Everybody wanted to come to their doorsteps and then sanitize it properly and then take it. So that was one thing which changed our approach. So we trained our people on how you have to, instead of directly going about the business end, connect with them emotionally. Because that was the time when everybody was in a shock of fear, and you have to connect with them emotionally. So behavioral trainings took a change. We went into how you have to connect with consumers more emotionally rather than going for the business side. And secondly, we started home deliveries. So instead of consumers coming to us at the store, we went to them directly. And it was a funny thing that in June 2020, it was one of the highest selling periods for smartphones across India. One, there was these online classes from all the schools and colleges. So everybody needed a smartphone. You have kids at home, parents cannot give their phones because they are themselves involved in meetings. So smartphone sales went over the roof. Apart from that, there were consumers who, out of frustration in April and May, because of so much period at home, the frustration was bored by the smartphones. The displays were broken, mics were not working, speakers were not working. So all those things which happened at that time, it resulted in a lot of sales in terms of all the brands, irrespective of in any smartphone. So home deliveries were a thing which started at that time for smartphones. It was a new thing for us. We had never done it before. But that time, every sales staff was involved into going for home deliveries. And we had to train them on how you have to behave with consumers at their home. Behaving with consumers at a store is completely different, besides a table. But when you're going to somebody's home, how you have to behave with them. So behavior training, yes, it took a major turn. Product would always remain the same. There was no problem in terms of product training. But behavioral training, yes, we had to emphasize more on customer orientation and their mindset and bring them back to the normalcy level, which was missing earlier.
That makes a lot of sense, Vikalp. And as you mentioned, that's a big shift in mindset, right, for everybody involved, from top to bottom. When you start doing things that were not second nature to the business initially, such as going to a customer's home, knowing how to talk to them there, ties really well in with what Mayank said about reimagining what the purpose of a brick and mortar store is. I think for a lot of consumer companies, their physical stores also became sort of more of a fulfillment center as a lot of business moved online. This would have changed the way that investments in real estate, retail real estate, would have been looked at, particularly now when companies are looking increasingly at integrating their physical and online businesses. So, Dr. Shakti, I'd like to bring this question to you. As people start to quote unquote reimagine the way a physical store is supposed to look, a lot will change in the way that, for example, rent contracts are built, or the way that people negotiate with real estate developers, malls, high street shopping areas, other landlords. Any thoughts on, how this is evolving? Are we going to look at a need of new kinds of rent contracts, or new ways in which people look at the way they invest in retail real estate?
Yeah, sure. Hi, good morning, everyone. And it's a very valid question because I think every retailer has gone through this. Every retailer, small, big, large, or a conglomerate, anyone across the globe has gone through a major dent in last almost about 2 years. People have not thought, and there were no business continuity thinking before any of those agreements, be it a rental or a lease or even the sales, have been drafted earlier, irrespective of the people and the professional who have thought and have managed any cures. So this was beyond imagination about how things will change, and including anything and everything. But retail has taken a major dent, as I said, because people have stopped coming out of their houses, and all of a sudden all those brick and mortar shops were had none to sort of as their customer. What happens? People negotiate better deals for 3-year, 9-year, even some long term, knowing their business plans, and all of a sudden you don't know what will happen after 3 months. This particular hit was not only to the companies who were into retail, but those who are leasing out their spaces as well, because they have further invested and taken loans and the further expansion of their business. So everything is a kind of succumbing to that sort of a pressure. Then what next? I think the first thing is mostly all big corporate houses have responded very responsibly. I think the first thing which I would say is that people have really responded with more humanity across, and that compassion has really helped the retail segment. Why? Because it was not written that your rental will be waived off or you will not be charged rental. But I have seen major big brands have either not charged rental or they have sort of shared in whatever capacity they could bear to some level. How this has changed in terms of going forward, I think this learning cannot be denied by anyone. But still, the business have to exist. Still, people will look for profits. Still, people want to grow their brands and businesses across. So what is next? I think the next part is we need to be more flexible, but more pragmatic in terms of how we design our leases, how we design our agreements. Pragmatic in the sense, it cannot be just one-sided story with that. If something of that scale stuck, then we will not pay because someone else has also invested much into these assets and inventories. So, it has to be worked out in a situation that, what kind of a business you are in. Um, the other part is, if you are a mall, I think you will also have to diversify your leasing out in a way that you're entirely not dependent on only retail brick and mortar store brands. Maybe you need to bring in a bit more, CSR view to, in terms of how you support environment related initiatives, how you support these local authorities or, government related, this thing. And apart from the retail, you need to bring in some more other diverse factors, maybe offices, maybe some other factor which sort of impartially, if even something goes wrong, you are a bit of 10 to 20% diverse portfolio you are having, which is alive and helping your rentals. So I think overall, if you ask me, some ready-made recipe to this has not been defined yet. But then it is all you choose as how you kind of been served, and it entirely depends on your business and how deep pockets you have as a business. I have seen, and which is very unfortunate, some of those biggest brand and some of those best looking shops have closed when some of us walked into the malls and in our surroundings, just because they could not sustain that sort of a pressure. It was very, very unfortunate, because bringing in that level of infrastructure and also sustaining it and bringing that experience to people and also providing those services, it's just not money. People put in their blood and sweat to just make that happen. Retail is not something that easy, which comes as profit. Profit in retail is something is extremely extraordinary. Even if you survive with your overheads and you do your business well consistently and growing, means you are definitely backed up and have a good deep pockets. In a major business, in my previous experience with Reliance Retail, when we were almost about 6,000 plus stores and everything, we can't imagine the kind of margins we have. It is not beyond 3 or 4% overall. So just think about the investment which goes into to bring in that sort of a profit. So as of now, I don't think it is something you can say that every time you have to have. Earlier you used to have three months of rent free period. Now you want to go for 6 months of rent free period. I don't think these are very subjective things. When it comes to the agreement part, you can't even you can't see that, forecast that something of that scale will happen. So what will happen?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I was wondering because that would be a great place for maybe Zafar to come in, because in a sense, Zafar, you are on both sides of the business, right? You're looking at managing retail real estate. You're also your traffic is so heavily influenced by not just people in the city or in a particular geography or capture area, but people moving for tourism, business, etc. A lot of these decisions would have come to your mind, right, on how to think about maybe new kinds of tenants, or think about the way that you identify appropriate retail real estate. What has your experience been in the last 18 months with all this?
Thank you, Soumya. Good morning, everyone, for having me here. Soumya, frankly speaking, since its outbreak in Wuhan in early 2020, the COVID strain of novel coronavirus spread rapidly across China and around the globe, with a major resulting impact on the travel and tourism. Since we operate our largest highway portfolio, we keep on measuring the consumer behavior while traveling on the highways. As a response to this outbreak, China was effectively the first country in the world to impose mandatory nationwide self-quarantine between January to February in 2020, followed by other countries, including India, by end of March 2020. Tourism, in fact, continues to be one of the sectors hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemics, particularly for countries in the Asia-Pacific regions. Governments, though, in these regions and elsewhere, have taken measures to ease the economic shock to households and businesses, But in the longer term, the industry will need to adapt to a post-pandemic new normal. We have seen simultaneously orientation of the retailers also aligning themselves to the rapidly changing business environment post-pandemics. Especially while talking on the highways, looking at the sudden fall in the traffic in the shopping malls and high street during pandemics and slow recovery of the traffic post-pandemics, we witnessed huge growth in the number of travelers through highways by four-wheelers. Post-COVID-1, growth in the car passengers was approximately 20%, which was more than a normal annual growth in a normal traffic scenario, in a normal scenario. So the growth and expansion of retailers also expanding very fast on highways and also on the other travel retail format, be it railways, airports, metro stations, especially for food and fuel brands. Not only domestic, but also international QSR chain entering India. And since we manage the largest highway portfolio, we witness COVID has in fact became an enabler booster preference for the QSR, especially trading on highways. And drive-through model in QSR has also become a booster for the revenue generations, and especially with the contactless services and because of the hygiene.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's great that you sort of brought a round vision here, because we're looking at all kinds of retail businesses and the way that things change as passenger traffic grows, for example, or dips in the middle of waves, or in the height of post-pandemic uncertainty. Akash, I was wondering, here would be a great place to get your opinion, right? Because you're at the cusp of so many of these decisions. Domino's is the largest QSR chain by most parameters. You're also have been winning the home delivery game long before anybody else tried to build dominance here. So, in a sense, you've been sort of building both sides of that business for a long time. A lot of these decisions would be affecting the way that you look at the way Domino's goes in the future, especially now that we're seeing cloud kitchens and new kinds of business models coming in. What are your thoughts, on how the QSR chain of the future will look like now?
Yeah. So thanks, Soumya. I think a very interesting question. Some of the other changes that we did pre-COVID on 3rd of March last year, and I'm not talking about 2021, but 2020, when there were only 2 or 3 cases of COVID in India. We were talking to our counterparts in China, understanding because at that time COVID had impacted China. We were trying to preempt what could happen, and we were trying to prepare for the worst. On 8th of March, before we had double-digit COVID cases, we had ordered for PPE kits for our people, the masks for our people, because we were anticipating if everything gets locked down, how can our stores run? And what would be the kind of preemptive measures being taken to make sure that all of you who are here on the screen feel safe while entering a Domino's? Of course, the extent of lockdown and all was not anticipated. I think people mentioned about, like Vikalp mentioned on the training. By 8th, we had trained all the 30,000 people in our company on contactless dine-in and delivery services. How can you make sure that you don't get in touch with the customer but still deliver everything? So our training had shifted online, and that was the kind of shift we had done. When the formal lockdown was announced in the 4th week of that month, we were fully prepared with all our stores being stocked with food, with the PPE kits, with the mask, everything, sanitizers, and so we were ready for the consumers to come in, because we were anticipating people will not step out of their houses and home delivery will become a very, very large portion of their services. Our revenue actually kind of shifted from dine-in, which was still 20-30% of our revenue, to a pure delivery, because at that time nobody was wanting to get out of their houses. What we did is we also started something called like a drive-in pick. So you order the pizza on your app, and you stay nearer to our outlet. Our person will come and deliver in your car, even at your bike. So those kind of initiatives we took immediately on our app. Our app downloads went up by a huge number. We were able to deliver people, but we also realized the emotional connect, which the panelists were talking on here. So rather than just the pizzas, we are also delivering atta, dal, chawal, oil, everything. That kind of imagine a pizza company delivering oil, because there were elderly people at home, and more than a pizza, possibly they would look at, the basic needs. And we kind of have a very emotional bond with this nation. We've got over 3 crore consumer base here, and we connect so frequently. So those were the tectonic shifts that we did, and very soon we didn't wait for the green shoots, or we didn't wait for the results to come in for the country. What we also did is we made sure that our stores were prepared for the pandemic. So we had to shut our front of the house because dine-in was not allowed. We started delivering. On the question of the cloud kitchen, I think what brands have done, QSRs, they have tried coming closer to the neighborhoods. If you look at the other larger brands, they were having very large properties, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 square feet larger stores. What people have done, and what this COVID has taught to us, is that you have to be very close to the people, because at times people may not be able to come to you. So that neighborhood format has started kicking in really well. Now, there were two elements of a neighborhood format. One, it's a brick and mortar where you go physically to a customer. So if you look at the other brands, their sizes have dropped from a 2,500 square feet to a 1,500. So they are working on a very optimized front of the house model where there are 30 to 40 covers and people can come. What they're also working on, because of the virus, because people don't want to spend a lot of time dining, a very high table turnover ratio. So you go, quickly get your product, eat and leave. Yeah, there is no experiential dining happening during the entire time because people just want to get out of it. On the cloud kitchen, I think it actually saw mushrooming of thousands of cloud kitchens across all the categories. The only challenge with the cloud kitchens would be that how scalable is that model, because have people really adapted to home delivery? Is it a permanent shift, or people are just trying to buy time? If you look at the mall, what Zafar bhai was mentioning, the malls are packed right now. If you go to for people in Mumbai, if you go to a Viviana or a Phoenix, we were talking to Phoenix people the other day, you don't get space for dining on the weekend. So that experiential dining has come back. Of course, Bombay has got it because of the double vaccination thing, but you look at the other mall where this condition is not there, you still have a waiting of 2 hours for a dine-in. So I think people would still want to come back to normal, want to get out of their houses, whereas the cloud kitchens would continue to serve their needs during convenience. When there is a cricket match or they don't want to just step out. I don't think cloud kitchens are ever going to replace the physical brick and mortar experiential dining, but they would kind of increase your dining out behavior or eating in behavior. So if people are eating out 3 times a month with cloud kitchen and affordable food, they will possibly do it 5 times. So they will only add up to the pie and not particularly take anything out of the restaurants.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. As you said, we're looking at more of an integrated future than a future where one aspect of the business cannibalizes the other. And I suppose that is where the bulk of growth in retail will lie in the future. I'm thinking let's switch gears a little bit, talk about more second order effects, as some have already been discussed now, of all the changes we've seen in the past, not just 18 months, but the past few years. One of the big second order effects, I think, of all these changes in retail will be upwards on how product development happens, on how brands are repositioned to new kinds of consumer cohorts. So, Mayank, again, I'll come to you. You're heading a brand that has been iconic for a long time. I remember growing up watching Fastrack ads on MTV, and that was an era and a whole vibe, I suppose, of how Fastrack was seen. Now, of course, the brand's so much bigger; it has so many more applications. Given how things are changing, how customer shopping and experience behavior is changing, how do these decisions impact the way that you position Fastrack for younger consumers, for Gen Z consumers, for example, people who didn't grow up with MTV, I suppose, like me.
Right. Thank you, Soumya, for that question. So you're absolutely right. The entire retail dynamics and the entire landscape has changed post-pandemic. And we touched upon some of those areas where why the brick and mortar format will still be relevant for us. But I think one of the biggest tailwind is for the e-com today. And e-com, as well as the entire omni piece, which has started emerging, is really working hand in hand. So of course, what we saw was, so for example, you touched upon Fastrack. In Fastrack, we had around 15% of our business coming from the e-commerce section. But whereas post-pandemic and now that the situation has stabilized, the contribution has increased to as much as 25%, which is a huge jump. You would have anticipated this contribution, say, by 2024, 2025, but it's already there because of pandemic. Now, where does this youth come in? I think youth is looking for a lot of convenience today. But what we are trying to do is, one is the entire behavioral pattern of the young consumer. And apart from that, where do we want to position our brand into this young consumer's mindset? And we are typically focusing on the Gen Z, the 18 to 25 years of today. And what we are seeing is, unlike the earlier times when there was this inclination for being bold, for being very vivid and being very quirky, now the consumer is, the young consumer, the Gen Z, the target consumer group of Fastrack is trying to be very, very fluid. They want to be very authentic and they want to be very expressive. And that is where our new positioning of You Do You, which revolves around fearless expression of Gen Z's fluidity, is coming in. So what we have done is, it's a two-pronged strategy. We are trying to reposition this entire brand into the entire behavioral pattern of the youth today. At the same time, inside the retail storerooms, we are trying to bring in the digital intervention. And that is where this entire Omni piece is coming in. The entire technology bit is coming in. We are going to have, say, screens in the new identity where people can come in, they can play, they can interact with technology. They can probably get help, not from the human intervention, but from the technology intervention, where the system will advise them as to what product to be bought next based on the historical purchases they have made. And all these technological advents cut seamlessly across with the youth today. And as we work on the new identity for Fastrack retail format, I think these will be some of the interventions which will be very, very relevant for the youth.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think we're looking at a future where there'll be a lot of decision making on go-to-market strategies will get automated, or at least will have some intervention of algorithms as you get more and more data on your consumers, right? More business shifts online, more data comes to you on consumers, more automation of decisions in certain ways, or at least reliance on data to get a more accurate way to think about it. Because I'm curious, this will be happening across the consumer durables sector. I know Vivo, for example, has always been very firm in its conviction that it's physical retail that will remain very important, at least in the Indian market. If we're going to see so much data intervention, so much movement online, where do you see, the really crucial aspects of building customer experience with your feet on the street? What will really drive customers in the future? Will it end up being discounting, or will the importance of service remain primary, especially in your consumer segment?
So when we talk about smartphones, it's a necessity now. It is not something you buy out of luxury. It's a necessity, and everybody wants to have a latest flagship smartphone or a smartphone which have the latest technology. Now, how do you experience technology? Online, you can see videos. You can watch multiple videos on YouTube channels, giving out the reviews or giving out the steps on how the technology works. But ultimately, we want to experience it. And without experiencing something in our own hands, we do not buy any technology. And smartphones is something which people want to have a feel of it. Will it look good on my hands? Will it look good when I'm holding it in my hands? The design, is it looking good? Is it looking good just on video, or it is looking good in reality also in my hands? The colors of the smartphone. So offline will not go anywhere in that aspect. And I would say, because we as a brand, we always feel that whatever market share or whatever where we are right now, it is because of the offline market. Online, yes, people will continue to buy online. That will not stop. It is for the convenience factor. And there are certain products which are specifically online centric only, not in terms of Vivo, but other brands as well. So that will continue. But our market primarily is offline. You go to any tier C town, tier B town, people throng to outlets to buy the products. They do not wait for online. So offline for us is like hand to hand. We go with hand to hand with them. And that is where our experience of, or our learnings also as well from this offline stores, that now people are looking away from a method of what was earlier, that once a customer comes, he asks for a product, He gets the product, he goes away. Now, if you go to any store, any mobile store, the concept of stores have changed. Every brand has an experiential corner for them. In certain stores, you will have a bigger area for Vivo. In some stores, you will have a smaller area for Vivo, depending upon the size of the store. But every store will have an experiential zone for them. All products are placed live, which has a video for a demonstration purpose. And the salesman over there, what we call as VBA, Vivo Brand Advisors, they will help consumers to understand what the technology is all about. Now, suppose, for example, recently we launched a product called X70 series. It was worth 80K and 50K in terms of the quality aspect. And it had camera. The main centerpiece was camera. And now if somebody is buying a product, how do you explain camera? Until unless somebody is not explaining them how it works, how you can click a picture, how that quality will look, how you can do zoom in, how you can do background blur, people will not understand technology easily. In videos, we do that. I mean, if you go to our YouTube channel, which we have for training, we share videos on how to use that particular feature. But how many people are watching it? And are they really buying that after watching the product? Because the product starts selling on day one. A video comes at a later stage. So offline is like, it will never go out of our blood. I can say, I mean, from a DNA perspective, we as a culture, we have always believed in human intervention while selling. We need somebody to guide us, which is the best product. Even though we have made up our mind before that I need to buy something, suppose an X brand, but when we go to the store, irrespective of any industry, looking at the multiple brands, the decision happens there when you're dealing with the salesman, when you're dealing with that particular person. And it depends upon the quality of that person, how you're explaining it, and how you're converting them into a certain brand. So that is how we see from our side.
That makes a lot of sense, and it speaks to the second order effects that we were talking about, right? Some decisions get reevaluated, some decisions your conviction is reaffirmed in them, as you rightly pointed out about physical retail and its salience. Akash, I'd like to bring you also in since we're talking about second order effects. Another second order effect, I suppose, is understanding how branding will work in the future. As you mentioned, cloud kitchens growing really rapidly. Of course, scalability is in question. But people are building new food brands, whether online or offline. I think all major, even premium or some luxury food chains as well have gotten into building an extension of their brand that serves online orders. My question here would be, when you do this in the future, how do you build a solid brand recall when all you have to show for it to your customers, apart from the food, it's the packaging and your visual merchandise, your branding online. If you don't have the restaurant anymore, if you don't have all the bells and whistles of a physical experience anymore.
Yeah, let's look at the data. Yeah, so eating out in India is still a very nascent thing. If you look at how people eat out in Japan, they are at 40 to 50 times a year. For India, it is still a very, very eating at home with family affair. Yeah, you want to sit with your family and then have food. Now with the COVID coming in, people have started ordering food at home, but they still want to eat together. Yeah. Whereas, now when the migration happened, people went back to their hometowns. So what happened in the tier 3 and tier 4, the overall bill value for a ticket or a transaction went up. Because earlier you had your parents only, now you've got the entire family coming in. Hence, our pies in the tier 3 and tier 4 have gone up. When the COVID started fading a bit in the past 3-4 months, what we witnessed is a very good dine-in within the restaurants. I don't think these are going to fade away at all. Brands have to build, because so you imagine how you get food at your place. You go to an aggregator platform, you type Chinese or you type Indian, you'll get 100 restaurants located there. Then what is your next step? How do you choose a restaurant? Either you go for some offer which is available, or you go for the rating, or you got your own restaurant that you want to buy from, say, a Punjab Grill only. So you go pick it up and leave. However, when you have so many of the restaurants and everybody is vying for that share of your wallet, what would differentiate you is one, the ratings on the platform. Are you really offering value for money? How are your prices compared to the quality that you are giving? Now, quality becomes a very subjective matter unless you buy you would not be able to get it. So you look for friends and family and the recommendations on them. So a lot of times people actually go and look at the reviews also. With all of these being available on the aggregator platform, the choice people are spoiled for already. And the panel here would agree on that part, that it becomes very tough to order if you are ordering from a new restaurant, because you are not really sure of the quality, the hygiene and the other stuff. Hence would come the branded brands, the QSR who are also getting into the delivery space. And I'm not really mentioning a cloud space only, but people who are wanting to go and deliver. When you are delivering in a certain way, you got to have physical stores as well, right? So in our game, that physicality will not go. What would happen is the phygital. So an integration between the physical and the digital space. Yeah. So the hoardings that you see on the national highway would remain less important than the Instagram handle where you see a particular restaurant ordering at home. So the marketing teams also would have to change. In the 18 months, and I think the people on the panel would again agree, the CMOs have become relevant, but the digital interface has become very powerful for people to get to the consumer. At our example, we had a very different problem at Jubilant. We had more consumers than we were actually able to cater to, because of the quality, hygiene and the trust value that people had with Jubilant. In the past 18 months, we have opened one store every 3 days. I think you should take time out to figure out the kind of number we've done. There was no better time to reach out to all of you, because everybody was craving for their favorite pie or pizza from us. So we opened more than 200 stores in the pandemic period. Today we stand at more than 1450 stores of 1400 something of Domino's. So we had to circumvent that problem to service our people. So our PDA and the apps that we have became more relevant to the people. The downloads became very relevant. We were not focusing on in-store branding because people were not really coming to the store at that time. So we used our digital Instagram handles became very popular. We had influencers who were, talking about pizzas and the other sites that we had. We were the first person to get on national television last year in June, when nobody wanted to put a TV ad. So how do you reach the consumer becomes very relevant. Cloud kitchens would continue to increase the eating out behavior. So they have a very important role to play, but dine-in will continue to grow faster and bigger.
Makes sense. One feeding into the other, just as everybody else on the panel has discussed. I suppose that will, be the bulk of growth in retail in the future across segments. Dr. Shakti, I think, would be a great time for you to jump in and tell us a little bit about second order effects, in your line of business. We're talking so much about digital. We're talking so much about new product development, both online and offline. How does that impact, the hardcore everyday business of facilities management, of looking at physical spaces in a new way? In my conversations with some mall developers, for example, we're hearing about new kinds of mall models being considered. You already spoke about a bit on mixed-use retail. Where do you think the everyday details will go from here?
Soumya, I think what we've spoken just now, all about retail. I would, for a few seconds, would add something on banking retail as well. This is something was very, very essential initially with the pandemic, right? And it was more not as an essential service, but more than a life-saving service. People were in panic to even withdraw their money. So even, and I'll come back to on facilities management. But this part, I think people should, understand as well. You were mandated by RBI to just make sure the branches are open in different banks. You can't have same people coming, those who are, severely impacted and they don't wish to come out of their houses. So this was a major chaos when, the banking retail has to survive and has to offer services, to just make sure people are going ahead and doing their normal day-to-day livelihoods. So this was majorly, when customer don't have to reach you, but you have to reach customers, irrespective of situation. So major impact on the technology had saved people. We sort of mostly banks started, ATM vans and everything to just make sure all such services have been supported and people don't venture out just to experience the bank services. When it comes to mall, I think, and specific to the facility management, See, facility management is only when you talk about the infrastructure, only that infrastructure which is maintained by facilities management. Facility management is basically to ensure your heartbeat is on, irrespective of business. It is just not retail and your malls, or it could be IT parks, and anyone and everything. So if you want your heartbeat to be on, you have to have the best of facility management services across any industry. How do we ensure that? I think it has to come with with proper skills. It has to come with proper knowledge. It has to come with sort of the kind of enthusiasm everyone showing to sort of maintain all that to that specific level. Going forward, what will change in facilities management? I think more than the human resource heavy, it will be a tech heavy business now. The tech heavy business is a different a different change in last 2 years almost about facility management, when it was all considered that you cannot do anything unless you put a body, a person, either a housekeeper or a technician or a security guard or anything to that matter to maintain, a front office lady or a person or anyone. So today now people are looking out to, have a different views. They are looking out to have a wholesome experience of how you can bring in not only a value for money, but also to just bring in to make sure that value for that money spent and the experience also people take up. I think someone just mentioned initially that it is about the experience. Retail is always about the experience you feel through, and irrespective of the money you spend, if your experience, you're checking into the mall and till the time you check out and get into your car back or whatever, I think that you will carry for more time, then when that is what will drive you to sort of again bring into that same place. So these are like smaller things, which will be very, very important. One, the skill level of the people who are maintaining, the multitasking and the knowledge availability, the domain understanding. You will have to be the expert of that particular domain. You can't be just doing one person doing everything. It will not be that great thing, because there are a lot of options as an expert available with more value for money. And then I think when you will place yourself well in the industry about how pragmatic you are in delivering those services, not only delivering those services, but consistently maintaining those services. I think facilities management will bring in more sustainable cost operation standards, and that will bring into support to any business head to how they grow further. If they have a cost sustainable operation, their compliance is the best way. Their overall customer satisfaction level is amazing in terms of how people have rated them about their services. I think these 2-3 key things will be the fundamental thing, and then you can build on about all other branches like your artificial intelligence, your bot technologies, all that new thing which are coming up in terms of guarding, your drone, your robotic cleaning. So all these things will sort of not everyone can afford, but then, and also not every place you can even use them, because with small 300 or 200 square foot area, I don't think you can bring in major technology. But what you can do is you can have one person who is trained enough to do either a cleaning job, a bit of a maintenance job, and the other thing which can bring in value for that what the 10 hours or 11 hours he spends in the store. So that sort of a thing, I don't know, people have seen those mobile cleaning, when people have seen those mobile maintenance vans. All those concepts will be more open now. People have been testing, they are implementing in some locations where you are not just dedicated to one brand, but you are giving services to one city. The city infrastructure is created in such a way that you are, even the cost is high, but then you are able to bring in some sustainable operational standard. You can distribute it evenly to everyone, and then everyone, it's like a win-win for someone who's invested and also someone who's been using these services. So these standards and these intervention will change over a period of time to not only that maintain, as I said, to consistently carry this and bring in more credibility to this overall fraternity.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, there is so much to unpack here, and I think sometimes people underestimate how important it is to really pay attention to the little details. I mean, they add up to everything from experience to costs to pretty much all the building blocks of retail. Zafar, Akash, I think maybe both of you could sort of talk about this. Uh, we've gone over the digital future and how that's going to shape up. We're talking about the costs of physical retail as well. Do you think in the future, very simply, when you're making your investments, is it going to continue the way it is? Especially in the QSR space, are we going to see more and more that people start investing in restaurant space or QSR space in a way that you're already thinking about how it can service online orders as well? May not be exactly cloud kitchens, but the way that the QSR is built in the future or rented out in the future, designed cost-wise and physical-wise to service e-commerce. What do you both think about that? Would love to know your thoughts.
Zafar, you may start.
Sure. So that's a very interesting question, Soumya, and I agree with Vikalp, Dr. Shakti, and Akash. The surge in online shopping is here to stay, but offline shopping will continue to exist as it is. And as the coronavirus slashes incomes and raises concern over sanitation, a growing number of Indians are switching to fast food chains, a trend that has helped Burger King India shares surge on their market debut. And moving forward, the kind of investments coming in the infrastructure sectors and the kind of development like Vikalp rightly quoted, given the hurdles presented by the COVID-19 pandemics and the closure of brick and mortar stores with the shifting trends of shopping behavior of consumers on digital gadgets. According to one study recently, 34% of the shoppers bought a product online via PC, 38% bought via tablet, and 44% via mobile or smartphones. Showing the trend of people switching to the online stores. However, looking at the physical stores and online shopping and especially QSR, as you mentioned, new trends is going to really adopt and replaces majority of old trends, wherein contactless services, hygiene, the social e-commerce, and the influencer marketing, online shopping and at the offline spaces, these all trends going to really contribute a lot towards the changing of the shopping domain and creativity towards the brand identity and the trust with the ethical values based retailers. And also this experiential retailing, like somebody mentioned, these are going to be contributing factors which will lead the next trend in the not only QSR, but also in the shopping retail, online and offline both.
Yeah, so Soumya, I think some of the other trends that we would witness is one which I had earlier mentioned, the shifting of the larger brick and mortar into small optimized neighborhood restaurants, places that and it's like a Starbucks, the neighborhood cafe. So people are trying to adapt to that culture now, coming closer to their own customers. The other thing that we have done as a company is a takeaway window in every store. So tomorrow, if we've got to be prepared for a pandemic situation and people don't feel like entering the store, right at the entry of the store, we have created this small takeaway window where you can do the billing and we can serve you right there. You can pick up your order and leave. The third innovation that we've done is a drive-in pick. So you go, you order. So say for example, from here you step out your house from Bombay, there is a nearest Domino's. You order on the app on a takeaway. You will take 7-8 minutes to reach that store. Yeah, we take 10 minutes to make the pizza. The moment the pizza is ready, there you get a trigger. The guy comes, checks your vehicle number, delivers you pizza there only. So these are the interventions we have done. I think the stores of the future will be optimized for delivery because that behavior has kind of set in already. What it has also done is the eating out has increased now. Yeah, people want to order in more. So what COVID did, which is actually good for us, is that if people were eating 3 times a day, 3 times a year, now they are doing 5 or 6 times. So the overall pie has to increase. The other important thing that people would do when we talk about the optimization of the store space is the hub and spoke model. You no longer want to have a very large kitchen right there because you are paying for very premium space. Imagine a linking road a store with 2,000 square feet of kitchen and 2,000 square feet of dining area. Why would anybody do that? You would rather get everything done in the back of the house and in your central kitchen. Make your kitchen only 700-800 square feet, maybe live also. You do half done food there and then you cook it. So one, you save on the space, you save on the rental, you save on the operational kharcha also, whatever you get. So the brands are shifting to this hub and spoke model also for a kitchen. The other is the seating within the stores is actually going to change now. Less of lounger seating, more of casual seating where you quickly go, eat for 15-20 minutes or half an hour and then you leave. So what we are going to work on is a faster table turnover. So from 100-seater restaurant, if you are shifting to a 50, you are not necessarily doing half the revenue. You are being intelligent with your seating, with your casual seating, faster service, faster ovens, products, so that you deliver fast and you work on a higher table turnover so that your revenue doesn't get impacted. Now it has got two impacts. One, rental cost, the other is operational. The third, in the same space, which is a smaller one than the earlier, you are able to derive more revenue. The other very important phenomena that we have witnessed is calling the chef at home. So now there are applications which are getting people who are chefs and they come to you. If you got a party at home, Soumya, or maybe if Vikalp has a party at home with 50 people and Vivo people coming in, you get that guy who cooks all the dishes using your ingredients in front of you. So, you know, you get that same chef wala food at home and they would charge you on a person like 500 rupees per person. Everything is yours. He just charges you that way. You know, those applications have started coming in, which is a very good trend. The other very important trend that we are witnessing due to COVID is a do-it-yourself kit. So now socials of the world with Riyaz, they are getting you things that are semi-done, half-done, or maybe, you know, food there you can do your own tadka and you are done. So half-done, 3/4 done, and then you can make it your way. So maybe Dr. Chauhan's wife can actually, you know, do her own trick which Mr. Chauhan likes, and then he's done with the food. The other important thing that Jubilant also ventured into is the ready-to-cook gravies. Now with the lady and the gentleman clinging to the laptop for 12 hours a day, maid is not coming at home, who is going to cook? Yet you want your home-cooked food. So what people have done is these gravies. Yeah, you get your own veggies from any of the supermarkets. The gravies are there. You just put some vegetable gravy and you are done with your food. So you don't have to step out. You don't have to look for food outside, and you still get your Indian or the Chinese food at home. So multiple trends that have only been possible or possibly leapfrogged because of the pandemic. People really adapted well.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Vikalp.
Yeah. One thing which happened well in pandemic is that everybody, I mean, almost everybody who never cooked in their life, they started cooking.
Yeah.
I'm definitely one of them, and I think those do-it-yourself kits are a godsend for those who are trying to do this. But you know, Akash, a lot of the things that you mentioned also feed so well into you know, new marketing extensions, just a way to keep driving home the brand in the customer's mind in various touch points, various parts of their life. You know, I was wondering if we could bring in Isaac Jacob sir here. He is he's a marketing and advertising expert. He's also the chair of marketing at KG Somaiya and has had so much experience with this. I mean, he's seen it all, including the evolution we're going through now. So, what do you think? You know, we're seeing so many new options and ways of bringing in marketing to, or bringing a brand into the customer's home, into their mind, into various parts of their day. Post the pandemic, is it going to get harder to make some of these choices? Is there a clear way for marketers to figure out what option works for them and what doesn't?
Yeah, I was just listening to this very interesting, you know, discussions that was going on, and which is all ground level discussions. But what really comes through is, from a marketing perspective, the customer journeys process has completely shifted. Number one. Number two, the biggest disruptor in this customer journey process is, of course, technology. There's no doubt about it. Out of sheer, you know, experience with technology, out of, you know, you would say that because of the pandemic situation, customers have really used technology for their benefit, either for convenience or for various other purposes. For instance, a lot of research in the area of retail also has really showed that as such. So it seems to be, and this is of course the question that I would wish to ask the panel, is it a blip, in a short term that we saw because of the pandemic, once it wanes off and things like that, or will it be a continuous kind of a shift and change in the behavioral patterns of customers as such? Do you think it's a longer lasting impact? That's the question that I'm asking. If that be the case, then I've got the next question for you.
Yeah, so I would like to take that up, Mr. Isaac. So I think this particular habit formation which happens. So as humans, I think all of us are creatures of habits. And what happened pre-pandemic was that we had certain lifestyles, certain behavioral patterns, which we used to follow and adapt to. But then pandemic forced us. So like as Akash said, that cooking is something which every second human being on this planet would have probably learned. I mean, I lie in the other side of the table, but I couldn't learn cooking even during that time. But that being said, we changed ourselves, we adapted to new age habits. And what we are seeing over here is that even though we are pretty much back to our business recoveries, at Titan, we are almost at 100, 110% of what we used to do earlier. That means the consumers are back in action. But at the same time, certain habit formations which happened, whereas a consumer moved to the digital space, a consumer moved to a technological app, that has remained intact. It is probably acquisition of new set of consumers that have happened, or the consumer is fluctuating between the online and the offline space as per the convenience, as per the time of the day. So I would say that the entire consumer journey construct from a retail perspective, we look at, earlier, it was all about a consumer looking at the facade of the store, walking inside. Experience started from an infrastructural point of view, but largely the experience was led by the humans inside the store. That is our chief retail sales officers, the salesmen at the store. But today, as the consumer walks into the store, of course, there is a lot of technology, a lot of visuals which are helping him or her to come into the store. But after that, apart from that entire human intervention, the technology intervention is something which is really helping. So I think, again, Akash touched upon something which will be a service window. So that service window, if available, I will walk into that showroom and probably get my pizza, do a quick rotation and just move out. Similarly, in our category, which is say watches, a consumer comes in and he is probably not very interested in talking to the person inside the store, and he directly walks in and goes towards the product counter, and he probably has a couple of products, and now he wants to see the product stories. What is the inspiration behind these stories? Why should I be a consumer for this particular product? And that is where, say, the entire QR code technology would come in. He will pull out his mobile, he will pull out his QR code, and there will be a story which will come on his palm about the product which he's viewing. And that is where he makes his or her decision on buying that product. And once he has purchased that, probably he might be interested in other products as well. And we see a lot of brands today who have these digital screens inside the store, where you just key in one product and a couple of other products are recommended. These are the products which go along with the primary product which you are having an inclination to purchase. And once your entire basket is full of products, whatever you want to purchase, you probably still don't want to interact with the people inside the store. You want to do a self-checkout probably. And then you just go, you do a self-checkout, you have self-checkout counters. If in case you are too new to this technology, you want to do it, but you don't know how to do it, there will be a human intervention. People will tell you that this is how you do it. And probably from next time around, you don't even need that kind of human intervention. So, and this customer then just probably walks out. And once he has seamlessly gone through this journey over and over again, I think a couple of years down the line, this consumer doesn't need any human interaction. And he just comes in, buys the product, gets all the help from technology, and goes back as a happy customer. And along with that, there would be a certain cohort, a set of customer who will still be heavily dependent on the human intervention. And this person will continue to seek human guidance and then work out of this. So I think it will be a coexistence between both the set of customers.
As we see it, yeah, absolutely correct. Because they would be, over a period of time, the people who want human intervention will become the outliers, perhaps, but now you will find. But it will also depend on who is the target market that you are actually, aiming at, because your Fastrack and others are basically very young, very highly mobile, movement oriented, for instance, as such, very highly savvy. Some of them, of course, are digital natives, for instance. So they're very, very comfortable. In fact, they're not comfortable with human interactions, as you would have mentioned it.
Yeah. Extremely uncomfortable.
So that's the thing. So that number one. So number two, I was reading a very interesting, news today in the Economic Times. IKEA has just started their city stores in Worli.
Yeah.
In India, they started in Hyderabad. We all know that. The other big one started in Mumbai, in the outskirts of Mumbai. Today, they are coming closer to the customer, for instance.
Correct.
So putting these two together, would one feel that the medium to longish term, outcome of these pandemic impacts could be omni-channel, coming more and more and more involved in the retailing business? But that's, I think, perhaps what the direction is looking at. But I would want your expert advice. The students will love it. Students will definitely love it, because we have been talking of omni-channel for the last 3, 4, 5 years now. It became a buzzword. It became a word that you had to throw in the class to impress, say that omni-channel bhi aa raha hai, that kind of thing. So do we see that as a reality happening?
So, Professor, I would take that up immediately.
Yes.
So what we've done already is, because a lot of the elderly people and people who are not so tech savvy, unlike the bright young people on the the retail forum here, a lot of elderly at home who want to have pizza, they were actually calling their sons ki yaar mere liye pizza book kar do, right?
Correct.
So what we've done is we've kind of gone heavy on our call centers, where people can actually, that Purana system where we had the Domino's number on the facade, order here. When we shifted to digital, we realized that that's a better thing. But then the pandemic taught us, when people are elderly at home, not every time, because we are all busy, we may not be able to attend to our parents' calls. So can we restart or reinitiate that number where you can call and get your pizza? So wahan pe human intervention, I think, when Mayank was talking, that is the human intervention. And omnichannel is not only about going forward, but also looking at the basics. Things that you could have done better, things you've done in the past. How can they become like the radio? In 8-9 years, the radio became such a powerful medium for people to convey their messages. The ad revenue, because it was believed that people spend 3 hours driving. So what would they do? They can't go to Netflix and watch a movie at that time. They can always listen to a radio. So what happened is, during that time, people started getting all the older practices back to action. And I think omni-channel for me is not just about technology. It is about connecting the consumer with the product. Yeah, so a lot of people would kind of confuse it with having multiple platforms and deriving nothing out of it. At Domino's and at Jubilant, what we do, we try to touch upon all the interfaces from where we can touch upon the lives of people. So be it deliveries of the cereals, or getting the call centers to talk to our people, or even talking to people if something doesn't work right. At times you don't feel like talking to a chatbot, yeah, because you are so distracted, your food didn't come on time, and imagine now you've got a dumb chatbot. You can't even say anything. You still want to talk to them and tell them, boss, mera food time pe nahi aaya tha, I'm upset. You want to be heard. You understand the problem, yeah. So I think that human intervention continues to be a very big thing, apart from whatever we keep talking about.
You won't get any satisfaction shouting at the chatbot.
Shout at the chatbot. Yeah.
We want that satisfaction that we made a big noise. You get the point. Correct. That's important.
Yeah, so I think that would continue to be very, very relevant. And I think things of the past would come back now very, very firmly.
That's how perhaps
I think
Vikalp wanted to basically add on.
Yes, see, there are a couple of things which I just heard what Mayank said about people coming online and taking out and not interacting with humans. Also, we have to consider the fact that which cities we are talking about. All this hoopla of we do not want human intervention, we do not want to talk with people, is more or so in the top tier cities or metro cities. Whereas you just move out 50-60 kilometers away from those cities, the buying behavior is still the same. People will still come to the store, they will still interact, and then they will still buy and then go back. So this online behavior or human behavior or the human perception that we do not want to talk to people while purchasing is only relevant in selected cities and not in all the cities. You just move out of these metro cities, and then the actual sales which used to happen earlier is still relevant right now. I mean, even in my place where I live in Faridabad, we still buy our groceries from a shop which we are buying from last 25-30 years. That is still carrying on. Despite grofers, big basket, everything is at a touch of a button. We still go there. Although even pandemic had not changed that behavior. So when we move out, so first we have to understand who is our audience right now and which cities we are targeting. If it's a youngsters in metro cities, definitely they will understand about, I don't want to talk to people, and that is how they are growing up. Since the innovation of smartphones and the way internet has evolved, people have started looking at the practices, what is happening in the outer countries. They feel that is a lifestyle we want to adopt. And that's the reason you see more and more youngsters, they are inclined towards Canada, US, or Western countries, where they feel that the lifestyle is pretty good as compared to what we have over here. So that is the difference between their growing up or what they aspire for. But just move out of this area and look out all these cities across India. People are still same. They're still doing the same routine. They're still walking down. Recently, I was in Varanasi or in Gwalior and Indore. The morning, people are still going out and having breakfast at these stalls. I thought pandemic would change that. It has never changed for them. It is still there. You go to Kolkata, College Street, even after pandemic, the market is still same. It has not changed at all. So it's only a selected audience, I can say, or a selected number of people who still believe that. Now, second point is the omni-channel part. I was having a discussion with a couple of my friends before, and they said that without multi-channel, omni-channel does not exist at all.
Yeah, that's
so. People will still continue their own behavior. Yes, a certain section will change for their convenience, like older generation. But majority of the people in India will still believe that relationship matters, and that is where retail comes into existence. That your relationship with that particular owner or that retail shop is like an emotional connect with them. Online can never have that emotional connect with any consumer.
I think your point is very correct. You're very, very right, and absolutely bang on. Because number one, customers want to have, and especially Indians want to have an experience, a store experience, for instance. Reason why today you'll find that an IKEA is giving you that option to go and find what you want, touch and feel the product at that particular line. Maybe you will pick it up online, for instance, as such. That delivery could be made at home. So they're marrying both the best of both the worlds, for instance, if you really see. The model that they followed in Scandinavia and other European countries, purely on the basis of really online sales, using a whole lot of technology and things like that, augmented reality, drag and drop, and the rest of the things. But the fact of the matter is that when they come to another culture, for instance, like India, and they had a very different experience, even in China, for that matter. They want to now marry best of both the worlds. For number one. Number two, you'll find that India has got the largest number of millennials in the world. The third largest country is the millennials in India. 340 crores of millennials, for instance. And they're looking at the future in terms of how to really market this modularity or modular furniture, do-it-yourself kind of kit and things like that to that particular audience. So they're building up that particular platform, if you were to look at from the perspective of really going into that. Wonderful. I think so. Some of the things that theory has been saying is being now validated to a great extent from our retail experience that the panelists have already brought to that surface. I've got one experience I want to recount with you. I'm just wondering whether it is too early for that experience to happen in India or not. This is personalization, one-on-one marketing. I'm a big fan of Marks and Spencer's. Whenever I travel anywhere, including buying it off in Mumbai at the R City Mall, I go for Marks and Spencer. I find it very good, very comfortable brand, very nice, good products. I won't say it's at the cutting edge of fashion or whatever it is, but it's a very nice brand, very nice brand. You feel happy wearing it, for instance. And I bought it all over, as I said, whichever country and whichever city I go. If there's a Marks and Spencer, I picked it up on Oxford Street. I picked it up in Dubai. Last month, I was in Dubai. And they have a wonderful store at the Mall of the Emirates. So as soon as I walked into the mall, I got an SMS on my, on my mobile. Hi, Isaac.
Geofencing.
Huh? Yeah, geofencing. And personalization. Okay, including all kind, you can artificial intelligence using all kinds of technology to find out who this animal is. Isaac Jacob, for instance, as such, what is the color of his skin, including whether he has got hair on his head and all. Everything can be known today. Okay. Now, as I went in and said that I was on the premise and said, oh, welcome to Marks and Spencer's. Last time you were here, you picked up a brown jeans, 32 inches waist, 34 inches length. And wonderful. We have in our new collection that we have got, we got a 32 inches waist and a 34 inches, length, a brilliant faded blue jeans. I think we feel that you would be interested in it. And not only that, if you just come and pick it up, there's a 20% discount. Personalization.
Yeah.
Nano marketing. Okay. Whatever you call it, it's actually one-on-one marketing. He knows my size. He knows what I picked up. He knows that I'm a brand loyal customer. Conversion can be basically, and you pushed it through a sales promotional activity. Okay. And I'm there. Why should I be in a Marks and Spencer's, outlet otherwise as such? So is this trend really moving towards retail, retail in India, number one. And number two, because we have been using a lot of technology, there's no doubt about it. And we got humongous data, for instance. You get the point. Are these trends that are today seen abroad is also, creeping into the Indian retail landscape? This is what I wanted to ask. I was only curious to ask this way.
So,
It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's already happening. So if I just give an example,
sure.
In mobile industry, what happens that we have VBAs, Vivo brand advisors, those who are selling smartphone at store level. And whenever there is a new product coming up, they have a list of their existing consumers who purchased which model previously from them. And they just give them a call just to inform them that, sir, this is a product which you were using earlier. Now we have this product coming up with so and so features, and that would be a benefit. So if you would like to upgrade, you can please visit our store to have an experience of that product. Now, this is another way of targeting your consumer. One is like consumers are getting to know about the product through advertising and everything. But at the ground level, it is still the person at the store connecting with that another person. Again, human touch is happening, connecting with that other person and putting that need in them. It's like growing a need in them that you have to upgrade your product. Even though consumer might not have a need at that time, but just by getting that call and getting enticed to have a look at the new product, he will go to the store. Maybe not now, after 1 month or 2 months, he or she might purchase that product. But it is still happening, and it's happening way back that in different industries it is happening. For smartphones, it is more relevant because you need to connect with your consumers again and again. Just to have a track what they are using, and if there is a shift, if they want to purchase a new product, you just put that the feature over there, the product over there, put on the technological aspect, and then done. Your sales happens.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're very right. Because I checked out with the manager there on in the shop at Marks and Spencer. He says, sir, we do that with all our loyal customers. Not only that, he said a very interesting thing. Marks and Spencer has gone into snacks and food items.
Yes.
Very unthinkable kind of area for
common in UK.
Yeah, in UK, and of course they've got it in Dubai also, for that matter.
Yeah.
Okay. So So I said, okay, so you must be doing it for people who are buying it. So no, we are talking about Marks and Spencer's loyalists.
Yeah.
You get the point. The launch was done on premise after having got the entire merchandise in place in the shop. They did this entire thing about people who come in and marketed their new range, which is of course completely different from the kind of range of products that they actually have there, and very successfully done. For instance, you get the point. So you can even go to market within your the loyalist and the diehard community, and be able to build it up at a far lesser marketing cost if you were to look at than perhaps otherwise. For instance, this of course is the kind of experience that they give you, and it's all customer experience management that you can, in the broader sense, if you were to look at as such. So that's
So even at Jubilant, Professor, what we're doing, we've done our cohorts for the consumers. So yesterday, if you ordered one particular set of pizza and you walk into our stores, the customer at the pause would tell you, sir, did you like that pizza? You had it like a week ago, and would you want to order this particular side? Because we've got the customer lifecycle management completely done, and Jubilant works with a lot of data. Imagine we sell pizza worth 4,000 crores in this country. So much of data that we have, but what is more importantly, how do you make sense of that data, make sure that you are using it to touch upon the right elements, and make sure that you pass on the benefits to your consumer. Tell them what Vikalp was saying, that this is your new product, and how do you want to induct that consumer within your store. It's a much cheaper way of inducting and getting a new product than doing spend on marketing alone.
Absolutely. And one of the observations that was made sorry, somebody wanted to.
No, I was just saying that, and this just adds up to that question which you had put to us in the beginning, that, will it work in the Indian ecosystem? I mean, as Indians, we are people who love hospitality. Yeah. We are people who love salutations. We are people who are just touched by love, and
we love to be
we are very family-oriented cultural values. So this is where personalization just comes in massively, and it will start helping us in the enhancement of the business. In fact, what we also saw at Titan was that one of the inspiration what we got in terms of helping the retail stores to survive was also the franchisee fraternity which we have. So at Titan we have this very skewed ratios of franchisee stores. So out of say 100 stores, 85% of the stores are business partner stores, franchisee stores, and it became a moral obligation for us to help these associates during that tough time. So it's not just about the consumer changing the behavioral patterns, it's also about Titan being morally responsible for helping the associates who have helped us build the brand over the last 25-30 years. And what we used to do very, very regularly was that we used to be in touch with these franchisees. We had a council made. We used to interact at a national level. We used to interact with these associates and used to seek their guidance as to what are their views on what should be the way forward. And without a miss, every meeting we had with this franchisee council, how can you bring in technology into the retail space? How can you enable technology to help us thrive and rather survive at this point of time, the way we are going today? And thankfully for us, everything fell in place. It was significantly helpful. The stores which the associates had started becoming the fulfillment centers for the customers, and I think all of us started gaining a lot of benefits from this entire partnership. Sure. So yes.
So Ishaq sir, I think I wish to add here a bit. With my retail experience of Reliance, been really sometimes very, very difficult to accommodate the request of the business heads. Let's say, especially to luxury and elite brands, it is always available that you are personalized. Even you have a chef at home, there's a tailor at home. You can just make sure you buy a suit of 1,50,000 rupees. I think there's someone at your home to just make sure that it fits you well, and you don't need to step out. All has been there at your luxury brands, especially on the jewelry part. Where whatever you like so much, the new range comes and you get a special invite with some special gift or all that.
The store is not doing well. So what is done in this particular case, हमने 15th April से लेकर.
Is there some? Okay, not sure. So I was saying something on those luxury and elite brands. People will ask, the business heads will ask me, Shakti, can you just not only the valet parking, but can you help us something to put a massager in a store or something? The ladies and men who come in for a food massage, some special request on just making them feel wow. And these are all personalized, specific to specific customers. It has been happening for luxury and elite retail brands. I've seen that, all those Group Brothers and that big names we had in India. But I think it is sometimes coming down to whatever level. Again, that whatever brand and the depth they have in terms of their credibility and the cash, I think it is going to sustain. Again, it is going to be there. It will remain. And we were talking about one more point when we said all that multi-channel and omni-channels. You pick up the example of any big developed country. Nowhere the brick and mortar stores are off. It has been growing, and these numbers are increasing. I think they are all translating into how that experience can be better, and that will remain with what I have over 10, 12 years of retail exposure. I think this will definitely carry on. And what have changed in this pandemic is we will be wise in terms of how the cost can be sustained. We will be wise enough to spend in terms of how we can bring in comprehensive togetherness of experience, cost sustainability, and maintaining the credibility of the brand. I think all these 2-3 things will go hand in hand in terms of how we sustain retail in future and grow retail in future.
I think that's such a... Sorry, go ahead, sir. Yeah.
This pandemic has done one thing. I'm not sure how you would take it or how you would view it, but with the kind of losses people had in terms of people going away from them in this pandemic thing, the emotional aspect has increased amongst people for each other. Now, when I talk to people, there is this feeling that you never know what will happen to anyone, and with the kind of in the lifestyle we're living right now, the kind of times we are living in, that emotional connect which was missing earlier prior to 2020, after pandemic or after this second wave, the deadly second wave we just finished, now I see a lot of compassion with people. They have empathy for each other. They are connecting with them not just for purpose but emotionally as well, and that has brought a change in the mindset that instead of just shifting away drastically from one thing, they are adapting to new things. And I see people not talking more in an emotional connect with another people, and that is happening at the retail level also. When people are coming to the stores, not just directly starting to the business point, but it is more about whether they are of their well-being is being asked about first, and then we move to the next segment.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I'll rush us all a little bit because we want to keep a little bit of time for question and answer from our audience. But I think this was such a good, complete, and also a little sobering, but a very good, solid moment to sort of think on and end the panel discussion on. Things change dramatically for us in this industry. Some of those changes have been going on for a while, but I think we've got a very nice, clear vision of where we might be going in the future. Some of those things are definitely up in the air. But I think one thing is certain, there is no part of retail that's going to die or get replaced. More about building a sort of consolidated future where various aspects of new and old come together, allowing people to make new kinds of business decisions. So I think on that note, I'd like to hand it back to Ishan and Sakshi. They've got questions from the audience, and our panelists can pick them up.
Thanks, Soumya. Sakshi, go ahead.
Yeah. So I would first like to thank all the panelists for the spirited discussions. Your opinions on retail comeback, telecom, banking, and other sectors, I'm sure the audience has absorbed a lot of information. Now we'll have the flow for the questions from the audience, which are as follows. So we have the first question from Harini to Dr. Shakti Chauhan, sir. Retail banking has always been very friendly to non-techie savvy customers, especially senior citizens and rural customers. With the advancements of technology and services such as mobile banking and internet banking, the older generation has become very uncomfortable with banking process these days. So do you think, is there a way around this?
Oh, very interesting question. In fact, and this is just not old and people who are staying home. I think the banking is changing drastically. Has changed drastically in last 1 year. So some of those initiatives and advancement has already been implemented. In next 6 months, you would find something more coming up. So the formalities of filing documents, signings, and all is going on. You're getting your saving account or current account immediately in few minutes. getting KYC done instantly, all that part, all that formality will be in a quick of second. When it comes to offering you services, and especially for our senior partners, they will not have to step out, and there is a specific mandate from Reserve Bank of India also to make sure all of them have to be serviced to their home to the maximum. So technology, of course, cannot be avoided, but then it will be more practical in terms of how they can use. The influence is enough when it cannot be misused, and there's a proper awareness. There are awareness campaigns not only from banks but from RBI also spent enough to just make sure that the citizens of India are very clearly using, very judiciously using these services. So huge influence of technology. Of course, the customer experience cannot be ignored. Every customer is important, because customer has a lot of choice. Customer is, of course, a king, and that king has to be happy to make sure everyone is in the hunt and they're in business. So that will remain as going forward thing. Everything you see, people always asking a question: why this? From they're moving from why this to try this, and this basically says that wherever you are feeling difficult, so try something. Why not to have even that solution to what people are expecting? So these segment will change. The interference of technology will be in an extreme great extent. The experienced customer will, of course, be priority, and this is how the growth in retail banking is going to happen. You may not have 5,000, 4,000 square foot stores. The store size may come down because the experience, to just make sure that they maintain the overhead cost. But then it depends on terms of how your business plans are, how you are positioned in that particular city or state. So it will all be kind of a comprehensive decision to be taken. But then I think there will be no major hiccups and limitation to how people, and especially the senior people, will use technology. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, sir. So now I have a next question from Parasha to Vikalp Sharma. So the question is, with rising market in Tier 2 and Tier 3, we can expect that companies like Vivo to expand in these cities rather than in Tier 3 cities. If yes, how will Vivo design its strategy, as there are very few malls that can we expect? So can we expect standalone stores from Vivo, and how will Vivo train their VBAs to cater these customers in Tier 3?
Okay, it's a very valid question that because now since market is moving ahead and Tier 3 cities do not have that much of malls, but then mobile stores predominantly do not exist in malls. It is majorly street markets where you have a cluster of market which is full of mobiles or electronics, or in certain cities you have markets which is full of a mix of everything. You will get everything in that particular market. So our presence in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities is already there, where we have multiple stores, which is called as multi-channel stores. All brands are selling in the same store, and every brand has their own promoter who is well trained to sell their products. In future, when we further expand, so depending upon the market, depending upon all the aspects, when we see whether it has a feasibility over there, you will always find a mobile store in any city of India which will sell all these brands at the same end. You will not have standalone Vivo shop separate or a Oppo or Samsung shop separate. That is only up to the cities of metros and Tier 2. But Tier 3 cities, it is more about one store catering to the needs of all consumers and all brands. And that is, we are already over there. We are present.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Adarsh, and that is, when do you think that robots in retail would come to large scale with effects in India?
This question is for me again.
So this is not a particular question to any panelist, so anyone can take it.
See, robots can come, they are most welcome, but will they have the human touch and the emotional aspect part? Emotionally, connection will always matter in India, irrespective of which state you go. That's the emotional bond we have. We are driven by emotions in India. Will we have that? If that is not there, irrespective of how much we work towards technology, this factor will always be relevant in India, that emotional bond has to be there. Otherwise, people do not feel connected with them.
Also, I wish to add here a small thing is, we always talk about robots and robots, but we need to understand where all we can deploy robots. We can't deploy robots in every small nickel stores. We'll have to have sufficient scope. You have to have sufficient understanding and a layout where you can use certain services to bring in that parity, to bring in substantially, the averaging out the overall spend you do. So, it has to be a very, very alert and aware decision. Of course, there will be intervention. If you are using a cleaning robot at the airport, which is only, let's say, 1 lakh square feet, I don't think it is feasible. If you're using it at an airport in Singapore, of course, it is feasible because the construct of the airport is such that it's very viable. So, I'm just giving an example. And even the retail also, a small bit of retail is supported with robotic. But then how practical it is, we need to also understand that part.
Yeah,
Just
thank
to
you,
add
sir.
to,
Yes, sir. Yeah, Mayank, sir, go ahead.
to add to Dr. Shakti's statement, I think we have to look at the sectors and the businesses, what we're talking about. I mean, I touched upon this earlier as well, that one of the biggest reason I feel, and I second with Vikalp on this, that human intervention will still be one of the foreplay for the retail sector to thrive in the future as well. And one of the reasons why people are having the courage to walk out of their home spaces and then walking into a retail showroom is because somewhere they have that inclination towards human space. Otherwise, they wouldn't be even venturing. They have enough options sitting at home, getting the products delivered. So the human intervention is here to stay. If we talk about certain sectors like the aviation sector, the medical sector, and that is where the robots will come in, because a slight human error can also lead to grave repercussions. And we look at some complex surgeries today, the robots are able to do it much more efficiently as compared to, say, a human can possibly do. Similarly, while flying a craft, I think you all know that for the 90% of the time when the pilot is flying the flight, it is on auto mode, right? So basically, the robots will come in. The robots will come in into the sectors where the need is very, very high. Retail, fortunately, is one sector which will still be driven by humans, by human intervention. Yes, we will have technology advents, but then again, to assist those advents, we will need humans to be manning those stores. And for that set of customers, which is, of course, looking for only a transactional relationship with a brand, I think this person can just sit back at home and enjoy the perks of getting the product delivered, the services delivered at a click of a button.
Exactly, sir. Well said, I think. Sir, we are running short of time. So yeah, I would like the entire people present here to just raise hands and ask your questions. We will take the best questions forward. Can we have a quick raise of hands, please? Others, just for, yeah. Even I wanted to ask a lot of questions, but we are running short of time. So yeah, we will take it. Okay, we have Tulip and Abhilash. Go ahead and ask your question to the panelist. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. So my first question is to Zafar, sir. Now there is, yes, sir. So now there is a lot of traction in investment vehicles like REITs, InvITs, and then the shared commercial space ownership. So how do you see that trend kicking off in our country? Like in developed nations, it is there. But how do you see that in India, sir, as investment vehicle, and especially for Gen Z and millennials?
Thank you so much, Abhilash, for the question. So I'll answer from the travel retail perspective, because this is what I represent for. So India, being a third largest road network in the world after US and China, having approximately 3.3 million lane kilometer, where national highways.
I think sir is on mute.
Zafar, so your audio, I think, is disconnected.
So your audio is disconnected. Can someone think in the chat?
No, not yet audible.
That 3.3 million kilometer has literally parted Jafar Bhai from us.
Not yet. Not audible.
No.
There's some technical glitch, I think.
Yeah.
We can't hear you. trying to call him also.
No problem. I think, sir, you can rejoin ASAP.
Yes, sir. You can reconnect.
So you can rejoin ASAP, and we can take it.
Yeah, I'll just ask a question meanwhile to Shakti sir. Sir, like this question is for in terms of fintech companies, sir. So now fintech companies are commanding, like the funding they are getting are at stupendous valuations, and then initially the role that they were supposed to play was a complementary role to the banks, but now they are commanding this kind of valuations. So how do you see the banks and fintech companies coexisting together to give a good customer experience in future?
Oh, okay. I think one of our co-panelists has used a word called phygital, So this phygital basically defines the answer on what you're asking. You will have to be physically available as one of the store or one of the branch. And meanwhile, as one of the fintech company, I think the options are, evolving so much to the way we are growing as in startup capital or startup country of the universe. Literally, this will go hand in hand. Why? There are different ways. See, the money has to be procured from banks only, either it's government or a private bank. The ideas supported by these initiatives have to be robust enough, which can sustain. There used to be an IT bubble in 99, 90, 2000 or 98. There is a bit of a startup bubble now. There have been good valuation of companies, but then you sometimes 2 months or 3 months or 6 months later, you don't know some companies about, because it is not it's only about 2% of that total number of startups which are successful. 2 or 3%, I think that number is been given. So you have to be somewhere that you are making not only sense, but you are also bringing about changes in terms of how you are using your day courses, your offices, your homes, and your day-to-day work otherwise. So, this fintech is, of course, as a major change. It has basically, slapped some of those arrogant banks. They felt that, they are the kings and nothing can change and they won't change around. From, one day they are waking up and that some small guy has started offering services and doing in one particular segment 3 times or an equal time of business, which they have just built up for last 25 years or 20 years. So I think it's in a wake call. People are just bringing together the boardroom tables and having a very interesting discussions wherein not only that, to go hand in hand with this fintechs, but also ensuring that how they can be ahead of the curve in terms of bringing that sort of a best experiences to every customer. So that coexistence is the only answer, and that will be the consistently seen across all the fields.
Thank you, sir. I would request Zafar sir to answer a last question as well.
Sir, still
not audible.
Audible, not audible, sir.
He's doing energy management.
These things happen in tech world.
I think one thing we must appreciate, the way the telecom company has rebuilt and offered the services in the last about 20 months and 22 months have allowed the whole universe to sustain. Otherwise, we never, 5 years before, we never had that bandwidth of 100 Mbps and, talking to 150 people and having a live telecast uninterrupted
Exactly,
so well.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So until the time sir is logging his body, you can take the question.
Yeah, sure. So my question is to Mayank, sir. So it is a 2-part question. The first part is that according to a report published in June 2021, it was projected that Titan would be facing some less growth in the later months of 2021 and in the beginning of 2022. However, in the October sales report, we see that it has gone 7,000 crore sales, and the watches and eyewear has seen up to 73% of growth over the last year. So what did Titan do differently to achieve such volumes in the pandemic?
I think I don't know the source of your earlier report as to maybe this would be coming in from some of our financial analysts who would have projected certain sales based on the retail dynamics. But then, as I said, that the performance differs from category to category, from brand to brand. And though we can all put all these brands together, these categories together in the retail ecosystem, but then even within Titan, I see that, having worked with Tanishq earlier, with iPlus, and now with watches, I can see how the three categories behave. So, for example, your entire jewelry is almost in that investment come need space, right? Then your eyewear is a typical need category, and your watches is a discretionary category. And all the three formats have behaved very, very differently within Titan. Good thing is that all of them have embarked on their profitable journeys, and the Q3 and Q4 of last year were the most profitable quarters for us. And of course, this was because of two reasons predominantly. Number one, there was, as we all know, that there was a lot of revenge buying. And after 2 months of holding back on your expensive, holding back on your investments, suddenly you saw an opportunity to invest because the market started opening up, the landscape started opening up. And that is where people came out in hordes. And some of the smaller players perished, but then the trustworthy groups, the Tatas, the Reliance, the Birlas, all the trustworthy groups, the big conglomerates, they massively benefited because people knew that in the darkest of hours, these are the brands which are going to survive. These are the houses that are going to survive. And that is where the major amount of investment started coming back to the recognized players in this market. The second thing, which also happened parallelly along with this entire revenge buying, was the entire internal decision making, which helped the brands to evolve. So, for example, we were spending a hefty amount of money on travel. We were spending a hefty amount of
Mr. Mayank, you got on mute.
Sorry. Am I able now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm saying that some of these major costs and expenses which are being borne by the organizations earlier, if not eliminated. And that is where the profitability of the organization. We knew that there are certain fixed expenses. We have to still pay the rentals. We can always negotiate for lower rentals, but we still have to pay rentals. We can't just let go of our employees just because our stores are shut for a couple of months. So those are some of the fixed expenses which we have to incur. But wherever there was an opportunity, we massively cut down on those expenses temporarily, and they continued for some time. And that is where the Q3 and Q4 results were massive, and we were sitting at some of our best quarters that this organization has ever. So yeah, I think these two reasons, revenge buying and massive cutting on certain costs which could be eliminated temporarily, led to the we saw the last couple of quarters.
Sir, I would also like to ask one more question. So it is that Fastrack has started on with perfumes and eyewear. Now Titan already provided Titan Eye Plus and Skin as separate brands. So how is Fastrack positioning itself in the eyewear and perfume segment? And being a youth-focused brand, how does it intend to use social media to say improve its marketing strategy?
Right. I mean, so these are a couple of questions mixed into one, but I would just like to answer this in a crisp format. See, the positioning of the brand will stay at an umbrella level, and it will be very, very intact. So I touched upon it briefly earlier. So new positioning of the brand is, say, for example, you do you, which is talking about the fluidity, which is talking about the sense of his youth. We have a lot of stereotypes which govern our decision making. There's a lot of judgment which is happening, and we are saying that we are there to support whatever you want to do. And this is where you subconsciously connect with the customer at a brand level, right? Your brand starts getting a higher level of recall amongst the youngsters, the TG which we are looking at.
Yes.
Now, within the brand, once we are trying to establish a connection, we have different categories. And then you talked about categories like sunglasses, we have perfumes, we have watches, we have bags, we have wallets, we have around 8 to 10 categories. Now we are getting into the entire audio space through hearables and wearables as well. So once we have connection through our positioning with the consumers, now the performance of the products will depend on the quality of the product, and of course the availability of the product. And for availability, again, there are different channels. We have this entire online space, we have the offline brick and mortar space, and whichever consumer is comfortable with whichever channel, the consumer will pursue that particular channel and consume and buy the product through that channel. Now, social media would be used to communicate our positioning, right? Social media will be aggressively used to communicate our positioning, and social media will also be used to enlist walk-ins into our retail stores as well. And I think Professor Isaac touched upon it, that the moment he got into that mall, he had the social media push notification telling him that, hey, Isaac, why don't you walk into the M&M store? And this is what we are going to do as well. We are reading the consumers today. We know the consumers which are in the vicinity of our stores, and through the social media notifications, through push notifications, we are going to reach out to them, customize, personalize our communication to them, and ensure that we tell them that this is the current offer which we have in store. This is the new collection that we have in store, and why don't you come and try this product out? And more so for a category like watches, because it's not a need-based category. You can easily live without a watch for a year, but you probably not live without food, or you cannot live without, say, an eyewear spectacle for a year. So this is where the aggressiveness in terms of the reach out for the brands like Fastrack becomes even more inevitable.
Very true, sir. Very true.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. Zafar, sir, I hope you're connected and you can answer to Abhilash's question.
I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. This is purely due to technology.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay. So answering to the previous question regarding investments. With the kind of investments coming in the infrastructure sector, with the kind of FDI inflows by the new entrants, MNCs, and with the kind of opening of various sectors by the government for FDI on PPP model of investments, and the entry of big petroleum giants entering India, and further setting up of the Railway Station Development Corporation for modernizations of the railway station, I see travel retail going to lead as the next retail destination, dominated by airports, followed by highways and railways. NHI is focusing towards the modernizations of the India's road network, and with the launch of many expressways like Delhi-Mumbai Expressway, Purvanchal Expressway, Prayagraj-Meerut Expressway. For example, this Delhi-Mumbai Expressway is going to reduce travel time by 12 hours, almost 50%. And the 12-lane access control expressway is going to reduce the travel time. And these infrastructure are very vital for the economical growth of the country. More than 80% of the transports, goods and people in the country takes place via roads. NHI plan to develop 300 wayside amenities across national highways. This will have fuel station, gas station, car charging station, food court, convenience store, ATM, motel, clinic, all sorts of basic requirements by the highway travelers. And this is going to be amazing down the line. And we are in fact plan to develop 300 numbers on the national highways. These all inventories, no doubt, going to contribute to a lot of developments on the highways, and this is going to again, create a lot of retail spaces this will obviously, contribute to a lot of rental towards the rental also, because compared to the city-centric location like shopping malls and high states, these highway locations used to be very reasonable in terms of commercials. And the majority of time, a lot of developers put in the investments also. Locking period used to be very reasonable. So as far as contractual periods are concerned, these are very, very flexible. And these developments and the government's initiative towards the travel retail, and we witness every day a lot of announcements of the development of the airports on tier 3, tier 4 towns. and the entry of BP, Naira, Shell, all petroleum, companies, big giants in India, and also penetration of the EV charging stations. I see this huge potential on the highway travel retail especially, and
Exactly.
this is going to create a lot of competitions also on the highway, not only for the fuel but also for the non-fuel and especially for the F&B. So I'm very confident in stating that travel retail is going to be the next retail destination.
Exactly. So very true. And yep.
Thank you, sir, for that
That was a good
response.
insight. Abhilash hopes you answers the question, and
Yeah.
Sakshi take it forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Honorable professors and my dear friends, it seems to be great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all those who have helped us in making this panel discussion a very resounding success. First of all, I'd like to express my hearty gratitude to all our distinguished guests for gracing today's event. Mr. Vikalp Sharma, Mr. Mayank Jain, Mr. Zafar Iqbal, Mr. Akash Srivastava, Dr. Shakti Chauhan, and our event moderator, Ms. Soumya Gupta, along with our faculty advisor, respected Professor Isaac Jacobs, sir. Thank you for your very thoughtful, provoking address and confounding insights. We are grateful for all your insights and hope that we'll be able to carry them towards our career. I'd like to express our deep gratitude to Dr. Monica Khanna ma'am for giving us this platform to conduct this very spectacular discussion. Professor Dr. Vandana Khanna ma'am, Professor Neha Gupta ma'am, and Professor Ralston Ravidya sir for their constant guidance throughout the process and for their profound presence in the seminar. Special thanks to our beloved Dr. Vilasini Jadhav ma'am for her guidance and moral support. We would also like to thank our PR and branding committee for their constant coordination in ensuring that each and every person who is interested in this event can watch it on Facebook and YouTube. I'm happy to express a vote of thanks to our steering team consisting of convener Shaurya Vardhani and co-convener Rishabh Arif, Treasurer Vipul Sharma and co-treasurer Prachi Shukla who all have constantly led us to make this seminar a great success through their motivation and dedication.
Of course, well, right said Sakshi. Besides every successful execution is a team of people that gives their all in. We take this opportunity to thank all the core members of the National Retail Summit, of what we call our dream team, who have worked round the clock, definitely, and to plot every successful execution of the event. To our respected panelists and our moderators, thanks again for taking out the time of your busy schedules to build a bridge of knowledge and rendering us with the first-hand information insights from the live business scenarios of the industry. From today's discussion, we can definitely deduce that the amalgamation of retailing and e-tailing is definitely going to be the sustainable way forward. With the looming of the threat of Omicron and the Christmas celebrations around the corner, this hybrid model sets the right balance for the retail sector. Our successful strategic far-sighted vision is the only propelling factor that has redefined the retail business and had made it much bigger and ahead of its competitors. Well, after hearing to all the insights, I would like to close the panel discussion with a famous quote from Jeff Bezos himself, which runs as under. In retail, what we need to do is always lean into the future. When the world changes around you and when the world changes against you. What used to be the tailwind, as well highlighted by Mayank, is now the headwind. You have to lean into that and figure out what to do, because complaining isn't a